Well, hello tubers. Here's my blade case, but this is my video to the knife challenge for Pestleman and Mr.Rickjitsu. Pestleman always says any challenges always tag Rick to it. You get twice as many hits. But here's one of my newest blades. We see me find this out in a sea of dirt. I believe it's a Dina blade. Terry thinks it's older, but we find a lot of Adinas out there. Texans. It's a nice point. And I had found this blade that same day too. And I don't know, a lot of people would want to actually call this a preform, and I'm not a napper, but this top edge has a lot of edge work to it. Lots of edge work to it. Some really neat material. It had a couple thick spots there he couldn't take off. Especially with mosaic, I always say the rock gives what it's going to give. But while we're on Adina blades, here's one of my best Adina blades, and it's actually from the creek. A little over 4 inches and just as thin as can be. And then, I mean, you can see the edge work goes along here, and there's been some of it beat off by the creek. But when you look at books and you see Adina blades, this is what most of them look like. Even has a real fresh nick right there. But this edge right here leaves a guy really curious. It is just as flat and as ground as can be, but the edge is right there. So it's not like it's, you know, it would have been in a little bit if it had been majorly, you know, worked over. I don't know. I think it leaves me curious. I'll put it that way. Okay, this here is definitely an Adina type blade. I dug this up in a overhang, one of the second places I ever dug, and it has a little pocket on this side. It has that curve to it right there. Well, really cool knife. This knife also come from that overhang, but it come from a little bit deeper than the Adinas. It has that Lerma shape to it. I mean, it's straight down that side and has that curve to that left side. A little bit of rind on it right there. Really nice work. Just some stellar material. And then I also, from a little bit deeper, dug these two blades up there. And as you see, this one here is straight down that side and has that side. And I don't believe these were definitely a preform of any type. They have some really fine edge work. Again, another thick spot. He couldn't get worked off the way he wanted to. I know some of you nappers can elaborate on that. And this was right along with it, and both of these was underneath a big rock that I dug all kinds of points and tools around from. And then when I flipped the rock over, about an inch and a half of dirt stuck to it, and I flipped it off with the knife, and I mean, these were directly in that dirt, or in between the dirt and the rock. This has a big part of uniface on it, but then it's worked right there. And it's definitely got a twist. It either not the finest snapper, or the rock just wasn't playing the way he wanted it to, but he had them stashed. And then right underneath that dirt, I dug out the billet napper. So it probably made them points. Here's nice Adena blade that I found on the creek, fresh out of the bank, we believe. Has edge work all the way around it, both sides. Very nice knife example. This here is a nice knife. This is from the Big Sea of Dirt before I ever started filming. And I used to think maybe this was even a Smith preform, because we do find a lot of Smiths out there. But this edge, I don't know if you can see that flaking there, was flaked to be the working edge. And then it's even like slightly ground in there, but you can really feel the wornness right in that area. It's really been worn down. This knife here is also from the Big Sea of Dirt, and we dig up many things, like even this big wadlow here. That's from my one buddy's ridge site that's full of woods patina on it. A lot of that will come off being vinegared, you know. And we find some stuff like that out in the field that'll still have the woods patina on it. But this knife has the most patina on it I've ever seen. And then these spots of patina right here, just really odd looking. But, and that chip in that blade, that's exactly how that thing was made. I don't know if they were getting ready to make notches in it, or what. And I had found this was in the first year after the river ate the field, and there was about this much sticking out of a hard hump, and I had to fight it up out of there. And I was going to do this out in the sun, but it looked way too bright. Here's another wadlow blade. I'm pretty sure it's a wadlow that I dug up. I dug up a half of a broken Ealry, not too far from it. But on this, and this was a lot blacker when I dug it up. Being dug up over time, it's lightened up to that lighter gray a bunch. And then it has this oolitic material mixed in with the regular hard gray Archaic. But it has a bullseye there. For some reason I couldn't get that little knot off of there. But at the tip, it's just edged work there. Then this whole side is edged worked. There's no edge work here. You flip it over, and this side has all the edge work. The tip just to there, and then that side has no edge work. Like a cross rhomboid kind of thing going on there, but just edge work wise. But it's a stellar blade. Nice knife. And speaking of other wadlows, this is my biggest, well, I have a Melville, but for blade types, and because of the flaking on this, that's what I believe this to be as a wadlow, but it has a distal tip on it there. But a stellar creek find for a blade. Yeah, this has a few adds and stuff in it, but this piece here, not really a knife. They call these Sedalia diggers. And this come up from my buddy's ridge site. But, nice, okay. Let's do this knife first, and then we'll go to some older knives. This here come out of the very first shelter I ever dug in. This come from one of the deepest areas, which the layers in that shelter, everything was really close together. And the Archaic layers was just like stacked one right on top of each other, from Smiths to rice lobes to you name it. But this has a worn edge on it, if you can see it right there. And they use this so much that the wornness rolled right over to the face. This shows how well used this knife here was. Whatever they were cutting on like that, but it worn it onto the face, and I always kind of thought that was pretty neat. But I found this right underneath that knife. I mean, right underneath it. Has 4 sides and serrations. We know what that is. That's the tip of a Dalton. And then I went a few more inches deeper and found this. And hopefully the focus is working really good. So you can see all the little bitty micro notches that follow every bit of edge that's on this flake blade knife here. And it's been used. It's definitely been used. You can see right there some real nice edge work, but from there, and they're all still there, they're just highly worn down along that edge. Now, they're there on this side too, but not as worn away as they are on this side. And everything in my hole got patinaed that brown for some reason. It was it's because there was water coming through that area there. But I have another flake blade I need to show, but this I also dug there too. And of course, this is a broken flake blade knife, but you can see, and it's much bigger edge work, compared to that last one. Some really cool material. This here was another knife I meant to show first, and they worn the tip of it so much. That's what the tip looks like. It's not broke. We really determined that after spyglassing it quite well. That's worn from just like that. I don't know if it was a Sedalia type knife or what. It did come out of the middle Archaic level. And then this blade was also in that shelter. Kind of thick, but it comes from the early Archaic level. And this knife here come from there, and this edge is a beveled edge all the way down to the base. It's kind of rough, and I don't know if it was worked in that way or broken out that way. Some real grainy material. And here's another Adena blade I didn't show. This is out of a big sea of dirt. It's a little thicker than most, but still a really nice oval shape. Got a really cool bullseye pattern in it. Great big bullseye pattern. I still like that one there. It's real tight. And this is an adze, but I need to show this for the material. Dual bullseyes with a little ghost face right there. It's just the material pattern. But let's see, I think I stuck it in my one pocket here because I need to show it the other ones. But this is the first paleo flake knife I ever found. What really makes it cool is it looks like a knife, like a butter knife, but it had that really minute edge work here. It still follows this edge here down a bunch, but right here you can tell, I mean, you see how it steps down. That's from them wearing that edge away. And then it has some creak dings on the blade, but most of the blade, and if you look real closely, each one of the flakes do, I don't know what you would call that. It goes from a flake here to a flake there, to a flake here, to a flake there. It just keeps bifacially jumping from front to back. It's not all exactly flaked here and there. It jumps back and forth. I'm not sure what to call that, but really stellar piece. Really cool knife, but it goes in my creek case, which I need to pull out here in a little bit. And then here's one other flake knife I found, and actually this come out of the little sea of dirt. And Devin found this and he gave it to me. But I wish this wouldn't have had that end broke, just to know what it looked like if it was just a circle like that. And that big strike up there. But this edge work starts here and comes real nicely down that edge. And then actually on the opposite edge, it has that really tight, minute work. Focus. And that has crinoids in it. You can see that one right there. And then this side, there's actually like 3 of them together right in the center. I mean, everything I've read about or heard about, Paleo Indians were always really particular about their material. That's why they used a lot of translucent stuff. I mean, in that blue-eyed Indian, they had proved that even the sultrine points, the material they were being made out of, was being traveled from thousands of miles that took them all summer by boat. But that's a whole nother story, whole nother subject. But I'm going to break it here and then go grab some different cases, because even though this is a blade knife case, this one's real cool. It's that end's almost like made like an adze, but it's really heavily ground, and the tip's not broke. It's been ward off, but I dug that up on that one ridge site. But like many arrowheads, we find most of them are knives, so I want to show some arrowhead knives. Okay, here we are again. Well, this is my Smetley case, our best example of arrowheads that are actually knives. And now I gotta have the camera back. It's hard to fit the whole case in there, but we know from the cucumber, and then there's been 2 other ridge sites that I've dug on, my tattoo buddies, where this point here and then the other ones that are right by it come from. Some stellar mosaic. And from the cucumber, and then from my other buddy's ridge site where I dug this point here up at, that we know from the Smetley brothers is what we like to call them. Smiths, Sedalias, Etleys, Melvilles, and have you so that these were their Spearpoints, and these were their knives. And here's a stellar piece. It's missing the tip. And then actually the material even changed at the top of this. It went, well, I don't even have any of that material in this case, but it went to more like a pink and purple kind of stuff. But this is another point I'd like to send in to Dr. Gomer to have restored one day. I'm going to send this point here in first, though. But these are best examples of an arrowhead that was a knife. We seen me find this one not too long ago in the sea of dirt. This is one of my favorite creek points right here, and actually I've been told that this may be older than an Etley, but well, it's really hard to, I mean, it's got a couple crankings there and everything. It's really hard to tell if it was ground anywhere, but, and I seen it many feet away. It was sitting out in the water like a big easy right before a ripple spot, or went from shoal to hole. Just a cool piece. Oh, where do we go? We got a couple of them that are made like this. Got that obtruse end to it. This one has some type of fossil inclusion sticking out of it. But this is a Smith point. with an obtruse end. Clearly a knife. Same as this Ealry right here. Has an obtruse tip, and actually it had a little bit more of some kind of tip that was knocked off. That little spot there is translucent, but I bet all that there would be probably translucent if that wasn't black. That's my very first whole Ealry out of the creek. It's still missing a little tip, but nice thin little Ealry. Oh, where do we go? Where do we go? So many points. This one here is a really, you know, this made a good knife. I mean, could you imagine that in a stick or a bone handle, and then needing to cut through some meat? And that baby there, she cut. She would cut with some good pressure. Some real good pressure. But every one of these arrowheads was a knife. Stick handle, bone handle. Wow, it got dark there all of a sudden. Huh. Just because I was in the, added in between the light. But I wanted to do it in the sunlight, but it just seemed way too bright. And I'll actually have to, I don't know why, my camera won't let me access the ISO, and I have to adjust the brightness every time on my editing. I'll have to show you this one. This come out of the big sea of dirt out in the front. And I mentioned this one before in a video. It come out of that real rocky stuff. And but it has a, I think that's more of a freeze pop than a fire pop, that piece there. But look how thin that caused that to be there. And it's a big obtruse tip used as a knife. And then once in a while, you find Ealrys like this, and I really don't think that's broke. You'll see the patina in that. I think they were snapped that way. I have another one that I'll show. You don't see very many Ealrys like that, but there will be a few. I'm sure Richard could elaborate on that. There's one that's even been ground after it was, I believe, snapped off. That's too smooth to be a break, and it's patinaed up just like the rest of it is. I don't think there's anything broken on that point. I always love that rust patina that we get out of our ground. Oh, dang it, I dropped my cigarette, can't find it. But there's that knife case anyways. I mean, don't you imagine? I mean, what would you throw on a stick? Would you throw that? Or would you chuck that? Which do you think would fly better? You think that would fly better? I think that would fly better. SpearPoint knife. One more segment. Okay, and this case here is just kind of like, well, probably my favorites case, I guess. But and then I have another case here on the floor. But wanted to bring something up about knives and certain types of points and stuff like that. But I mean, is for those of you know that we find Dixons out here in many different shapes, or sizes, I mean, not shapes, but like here's a pretty good sized Dixon. It's a little over 3 inches. Each one of my fingers is 3/4 of an inch, so there's 3 inches or a little bit more. Okay. Then we even get Dixons, great big wide ones like this. Pretty sure something like this would have been used as a knife. But then you get to Dixons like this size here. And look how nice and flat that is. Well, that Dixon there could have been tied on a stick and throwed at something. Now, of course, it's probably been sharpened down from its original size some. But then there's Dixons that are clearly like this. The way they're sharpened up with that slight twist to them was probably more a knife. But then we have Dixons that are like this size. And would you really want a small cutting knife? Or would you rather have a big cutting knife and a small point on your spear? Or maybe even a small dart point? Because we know we find a fire pop in that thing. We know we find the Adena blades. There's been dug up with them before. And this one's just, it's oddly shaped, but it has nice flaking. There's a little pointy tip to it. But just as I say, most snappers had to start out somewhere. And a lot of points we find, I can guarantee a lot of them is younger generation points. And they didn't get to be superior nappers until they into their teen years, or maybe even later. Who knows? Some may have even been superior nappers at the start of their teen years. We don't know. Didn't live back then. And then Snyder points are the same way. Here's like a small Snyder's. And I don't have any good examples, but I mean, I've seen Snyder points found way bigger than this 2 3/4 inch point. And this is a Hopewell. I've showed this before. It's translucent. Perfect knife. Has that killer curve to it there. Awesome edge work all the way around it. And it's a quartz point. My brother-in-law has said many times all of our mosaic is a type of quartz. It gets its different colors from the billions of years of the minerals that it's been laying in. This is a stellar knife here from the drive-in. Big old 4-inch Apple Creek. And then, like, see what my Apple Creeks are like out of the sea of dirt? Little bitty short guys compared to them. Like this one here, it's had the ears sharpened off. It's not broke. But there's my knife challenge. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope everybody has a great Father's Day weekend also, for who's ever a father. You know, here's a type of Snyder's point. It's a variant style. Unless it's supposed to be a big table rock, but I don't know if it's got enough of that true bottleneck to it or not. Right there next to it's a table rock. and that was probably more projectile point than a knife. It's just like our Gibsons. You find little Gibsons such as this one, and you find some that are great large. Well, that concludes Brooksy's Knife Challenge entry. Hope you get out and find something stellar.